Okay, let's dive right into this fascinating historical whodunit. Today, we're exploring a manuscript that has literally broken the minds of brilliant codebreakers, totally embarrassed linguists, and tormented historians for over a century. Welcome to our explainer on the enigma of the Voynich Manuscript. It's a book that completely defies the known boundaries of human communication. So, our story begins in the autumn of 1912. The air in the Alban Hills of Italy is, just starting to get crisp. Picture this. You're walking into the high, quiet walls of the Villa Mondragone. It's this grand estate near Rome that was operating as a Jesuit college at the time. A Polish-American rare book dealer named Wilfrid Voynich is sifting through a collection of forgotten manuscripts in this dusty wooden chest. His hands brush against a small, totally unassuming volume. It doesn't even have a cover. Its vellum pages are stained. But the moment he opens it, he realizes he's holding something absolutely extraordinary. Voynich actually bought the book right there on the spot. He was absolutely convinced he'd found a treasure that the world's leading cryptographers could quickly decipher, but man, was he mistaken. Because over 100 years later, this exact same book, which is now sitting in a climate-controlled vault at Yale University's library, completely refuses to be read. It's been called the most profound, frustrating, and alluring unsolved intellectual mystery in human history. Section 1, a century-old mystery. The discovery of the book that refuses to be read. Let's lay out the initial physical evidence that Voynich uncovered. It's a pretty modest book, roughly 9 by 6 inches, made of about 240 stained pages of vellum, which, if you didn't know, is basically specially prepared animal skin. There's no known author and absolutely no title page. The text itself is written in this entirely unknown, flowing alien alphabet that honestly looks like nothing else on Earth. And right alongside this text are hundreds of surreal illustrations painted in these vibrant washes of green, brown, yellow, blue, and red. Section 2, Anatomy of an Impossible Book. The 6 bizarre sections. Now, the physical structure of this document defies all logic, and the categorization gets incredibly bizarre. The largest part is the herbal section, but get this, none of the plants are real. They're complete botanical chimeras. We're talking mismatched roots grafted onto leaves and totally fictional flowers. Then we have the astronomical section. This has suns that literally have faces, alongside these complex circular diagrams. But arguably the strangest is the balneological, or bathing section. It features small naked women, nymphs basically, wading in green pools, connected by plumbing that looks suspiciously like human anatomy, or maybe strange alchemical glassware. There's also a cosmological section with abstract castles, a pharmaceutical section with apothecary jars, and finally, a recipe section. This one contains short, bullet point paragraphs marked by tiny stars with absolutely zero illustrations. Section 3, the Whispering Alphabet, the Paradox of Voynichese. Cryptographers actually call this writing system Voynichese. It's a fluid, highly confident script made up of about 20 to 30 distinct characters. But here's the truly staggering part. Across hundreds of pages, there are absolutely no crossed-out words, no visible corrections, and no guidelines. I mean, think about how hard it is to write just one page in a journal without crossing something out, right? They did it for hundreds of pages. The scribe wrote this alien text with flawless fluency. It looks as if they were copying it directly from their own mind without a single spelling mistake or hesitation. It's wild. Now, when linguists finally got their hands on this text, they fully expected to find just random gibberish or maybe a rigid, basic code. But instead, they ran it against Zipf's law. That's a linguistic rule where the frequency of a word is inversely proportional to its rank. And to their absolute shock, the Voynich manuscript perfectly matched the Zipf's law distribution curves of real, living languages like English and Latin. So it possesses the exact mathematical signature of genuine communication. And this brilliantly illustrates the contradiction that absolutely torments linguists today. On one hand, the text adheres perfectly to Zipf's law and shows incredible handwriting fluency. But on the other hand, it has extremely low entropy, meaning it's predictably rigid and totally alien. For example, certain letters only ever appear at the ends of words, it lacks any punctuation whatsoever, and it features intense word repetition. You'll literally find the exact same word written 2 or 3 times in a row, like thicky, thicky, thicky. And the thing is, no natural human tongue actually does that. Section 4, Forensics and Failed Codebreakers. Tracking the Suspects. So let's track the paper trail. It starts in the eccentric, occult-obsessed court of Holy Roman Emperor Rudolf II in Prague, right in the early 1600s. He bought it for a total fortune, 600 gold ducats. And we actually know it was there because researchers used UV light to find a faintly erased signature of his personal pharmacist, a guy named Tippenet, right on the very first page. From there, a frustrated alchemist named George Barish tried and completely failed to crack it, eventually leaving it to his friend Marchi. In 1665, Marchi shipped it off to Athanasius Kircher, who was a famous Jesuit codebreaker in Rome. Kircher apparently just filed it away, and it sat in total obscurity until Wilfrid Voynich dusted it off in 1912. For decades, people argued over who actually created this thing. But then came our biggest historical plot twist. In 2009, Yale University allowed a team from the University of Arizona to perform destructive carbon-14 dating on tiny slivers of the vellum. The results? Well, with 95% confidence, the animal skins used to make this book were dated conclusively to between 1404 and 1438. This piece of flawless forensic science instantly crosses our prime suspects right off the whiteboard. 13th century philosopher Roger Bacon? Ruled out. He died over a century before the vellum was even made. Elizabethan magicians John Dee and Edward Kelly? Ruled out. What about Wilfrid Voynich himself as a forger? Also ruled out. It's practically impossible he could have acquired dozens of blank pages of perfectly matched 15th century vellum. Furthermore, the Macron Research Institute proved the ink was medieval iron gall, layered with period-accurate ground azurite, copper, and iron pigments. So the book is, beyond a shadow of a doubt, a genuine early 15th century artifact. But honestly, knowing it's real only makes the cryptographic graveyard more haunting. This book has defeated the greatest minds of the past century. In 1921, William Romain Newbold claimed he broke it by reading microscopic shorthand. Turns out it was just pareidolia. He was literally just reading the natural cracks in the aging ink. Then, in 1944, William Friedman, the genius who actually broke Japan's purple cipher in World War II, used early computers and finally conceded it wasn't a cipher at all, but likely an invented artificial language. Even modern artificial intelligence has failed. In 2018, algorithms forced matches to Hebrew, but independent scholars found that even the algorithms running in our modern supercomputers were just spitting out complete nonsensical gibberish. Section 5. 4 Paths Through the Labyrinth. The Leading Theories. Since the forensics give us an authentic 15th century artifact, but the text remains unbreakable, we're basically left with 4 leading theories. Let's look at the suspects and their fatal flaws. Theory 1. The masterful hoax. The motive here is money, swindling a wealthy noble with a fake book of secrets. But the flaw? Why slaughter dozens of calves and spend years making a mathematically perfect fake when a sloppy one would have easily fooled a Renaissance duke? Theory 2 is the heretical cipher, hiding dangerous science from the Inquisition. The logic falls apart, though, because scribes always make mistakes when enciphering, yet this text flows without a single correction. Theory 3 suggests a lost tongue written phonetically, but decades of mapping it to real language families have produced absolutely zero coherent text. Finally, Theory 4, the mirror of madness. A neurodivergent mind suffering from hypergraphia and glossolalia, writing private visions. Now, this beautifully explains the fluent gibberish and bizarre imagery, but scientifically, it's a dead end because it is utterly impossible to prove. And perhaps, well, that brings us to the most profound realization about Manuscript 408. Resting today in its vault at Yale, it's essentially become a cultural mirror. Think about it. When a 17th century alchemist looked at it, he saw alchemical formulas. When a 20th century military cryptoanalyst studied it, he saw sophisticated wartime code. Today, computer scientists look at it and see an algorithmic puzzle waiting for the right AI model. Every single generation projects their own era, their own technologies, and their own desires right onto its silent pages. So what do you take away from this? What do you see when you look in the mirror? The Voynich Manuscript is so captivating precisely because it exists perfectly on the border between order and chaos. It's way too structured to be mere nonsense, yet way too elusive to be read. It stands as this beautiful, humbling reminder that, despite all our modern supercomputers and vast historical knowledge, there are still some secrets of our ancestors that we simply cannot reach. Will the book ever be read? Well, I suppose that is the ultimate mystery.
Please like and subscribe.